So you'll understand how observing a particle would affect how it behaves. I'm going to try and explain this using solar sails. Solar sails are giant constructs that essentially collect light out in outer space. And that light that hits them imparts some force to them. So they act kind of like sails on a boat. The light hits them and imparts a small bit of force that propels them forward. So now we know that when light hits something, it is imparting a very small amount of force to it. Well, check this out. Light is hitting everywhere around me right now. And yes, it's imparting a small amount of force to me. It's just so small I don't really feel it. But the only way anyone can perceive me, can observe me, is by perceiving the light that has bounced off me. Which means you are only seeing the me after it has been pushed by the light. You're never able to see me before then. Now again, the photons aren't doing much because I am tons of atoms very densely packed, and comparatively small force and a smaller amount of photons are hitting me right now. But when we talk about observing things in the quantum world, we're talking about tiny little subatomic particles that are interacting with each other. They are applying similar effects to each other on the same scale. So anything you would use to detect a subatomic particle, like an electromagnetic field, will affect that particle by nature of detecting it. Because again, you're only seeing me because a photon is bouncing off me and going into my camera, and then your phone is emitting that photon and it is bouncing into your eyes. That bouncing doesn't affect this, but imagine doing that on a subatomic level. If one particle bounced into another particle, it would be like two pool balls bouncing off each other. You would be able to see one particle because the other particle would have bounced off it, but that bouncing action would have affected the other particle. It would have affected how it's moving and where it's traveling. And how it's moving and where it's traveling and how it behaves is essentially all that quantum states are. So yeah, subatomic particles like photons can push really big things with solar sails, and on the microscopic level, they could push really small things like other subatomic particles. And since the only way you could detect something is by interacting with it, detection of a subatomic particle necessarily changes it. And now you're starting to see how quantum mechanics works.